The cafe was warm and softly lit, with the scent of cinnamon pastries floating in the air. Outside, the August rain fell in thin sheets against the windows, painting the world in gray. Inside, Ethan Rivers sat alone at a corner table, nursing a lukewarm cup of black coffee. He wasn't really drinking it, just watching it swirl like it held answers to the ache in his chest. A camera bag rested beside his chair, zipped up tight, untouched since he'd walked in. Ethan hadn't spoken to anyone all day. He didn't plan to. That was the point of coming here. Until a voice broke the silence. "Excuse me, mister." He looked up slowly, reluctantly, and blinked. A little girl, no older than 5, stood by his table. She wore a yellow raincoat with ducks on it, still damp from outside. Her curls were messy and her cheeks rosy from the cold. Her brown eyes were bright, filled with something he hadn't seen in a long time: hope. "Can I borrow your smile for Mommy?" Ethan blinked again. "What?" "My Mommy's really tired. She hasn't smiled all day," the girl said seriously, as if this were the most reasonable request in the world. "But I saw you smile a little when the man dropped his tray earlier, so I think you still have some left." Ethan didn't remember smiling, but maybe he had just a twitch of the lips. Either way, the question stunned him. He didn't know what to say. Before he could find words, a woman rushed over, her face pale with embarrassment. "Lily," she said breathlessly, "sweetheart, you can't bother people like that." "She wasn't bothering me," Ethan said quietly. The woman, presumably Lily's mom, looked at him for the first time. Her expression softened. Her dark eyes were tired but kind, her makeup minimal, her smile faint. "I'm so sorry," she said. "She's a little sunshine storm, comes in fast means well." "I can tell." Lily tugged at her mom's hand. "But Mommy, he still has some smile. Maybe if you just borrow it a little." Clara laughed softly, a hand brushing Lily's curls. "Baby, that's not how smiles work." Ethan felt something shift in his chest. It had been a long time since he heard that kind of laugh, gentle, exhausted, real. He looked at Lily, then at her mother. I wouldn't mind if she borrowed it, just this once." Clara blinked. "That's kind of you, but—" "I'm Ethan," he said, standing. "Ethan Rivers." She hesitated, then extended her hand. "Clara Jennings, and this is Lily." Lily grinned and waved. "Hi, Mr. Ethan. Do you want to sit with us? Mommy hasn't had coffee yet, and I get a cookie." Clara's eyes widened. "Lily." "It's okay," Ethan said, surprising even himself. "I could use some company." There was a pause. Then Clara gave a small nod. "All right, 1 coffee." They moved to a booth near the window. Lily talked nonstop about her imaginary dog named Waffles, her favorite crayon color, teal, and how she wanted to become a cloud scientist. Clara let her talk, listening with an exhausted fondness that made Ethan ache. For the first time in months, Ethan wasn't thinking about his sister, or the funeral, or the camera he hadn't touched. He was just present, because a little girl had asked to borrow his smile. As they chatted, Clara leaned back and looked at him. "She does this," she said, voice low. "Finds the saddest person in the room and tries to fix them." Ethan's throat tightened. "She's got a gift," he replied. Clara looked out the window, watching the rain. "Maybe she does." And for the first time in a long time, Ethan smiled, and this time he knew it. The rain hadn't stopped, and neither had Lily's stories. They sat in the corner booth for nearly an hour. Ethan learned about Clara's job, working night shifts as a nurse, and Lily's imaginary best friend, a rainbow-colored cat named Sprinkle. It was strange how natural it felt. Warm, even. Clara excused herself briefly to take a call outside. That left Ethan alone with Lily, who was trying to balance a sugar packet on her nose. He watched her with mild amusement. "You've got talent." Lily grinned. "Mommy says I'm full of energy, sometimes too much." Ethan chuckled. Lily paused, looking up at him with serious eyes. "You smiled again." "Did I?" "Yeah, but it's a little broken." He raised an eyebrow. "Broken?" She nodded matter-of-factly. "It's like when my music box plays but the sound isn't all there. It's still nice, but kinda sad too." Ethan stared at her. What 5-year-old talked like this? Before he could answer, Clara returned, brushing damp hair from her face. Her smile was faint but sincere. "Sorry about that, work again." "No problem," Ethan said, glancing at Lily. "We were just talking about music boxes and broken smiles." Clara blinked. "That sounds about right." She slid back into the booth. "I don't mean to intrude on your day. You probably came here to be alone." "I thought I did," Ethan admitted. "But I didn't expect to be ambushed by a tiny therapist in a duck raincoat." Clara laughed and it lit up her face. Ethan looked at her, really looked, and saw the tiredness tucked behind her eyes, not just from work, from life. "You always come here?" he asked. "Sometimes, when Lily's with me on weekends. They know her at the counter. She gets extra whipped cream for being dramatic." "I am not dramatic," Lily gasped, then struck a pose like a theater queen. "I'm expressive." They all laughed. Ethan's chest warmed. Then Clara leaned in, lowering her voice. "What about you? You from around here?" He hesitated, eyes drifting to the window. "Used to be, grew up nearby, moved to the city for work, but I'm back now, temporarily." "Oh," she asked gently, "family?" A long pause. "My sister passed away," he said quietly. 3 months ago, I took time off, haven't really gone back." Clara's face fell. "I'm so sorry." She was a photojournalist. Funny, brave, got me into photography. This, he motioned to the camera bag beside him. It used to mean something. Clara followed his gaze. "Still does, I think. Maybe you just forgot." Ethan looked down. "Maybe." Lily, seemingly sensing the shift in mood, reached across the table and patted his hand. "You can borrow Mommy's smile, too. She hides them, but they're still in there." Clara blinked in surprise, then let out a breathy laugh. "Lily." Ethan smiled again, less broken this time. They ordered one more coffee and a second cookie for Lily, who declared it an emergency. For a moment, time paused. There was no grief, no exhaustion. Just 3 people sharing coffee, cookies, and a sliver of something healing. As they got ready to leave, Clara pulled Lily's raincoat tight. "You okay?" she asked Ethan. He nodded. "Yeah, actually, yeah." They walked toward the door, Ethan holding it open for them. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. Clara turned back. "It was really good to meet you, Ethan. I mean that." "You too," he said and meant it. Lily waved. "Bye, Mr. Ethan. I hope your smile gets all the way fixed." He watched them walk away, yellow raincoat bouncing down the sidewalk. For a long time, Ethan stood there in the doorway, watching the rain, his fingers brushing the strap of his camera bag. Then he did something he hadn't done in weeks. He picked it up. The next morning, Ethan returned to the same cafe. Same corner booth, same quiet hum of espresso machines. But no yellow raincoat. He wasn't sure what he expected. Clara and Lily hadn't promised to come back. Still, he sat with a black coffee, camera bag by his side, staring out the window as people rushed past. The table felt empty. He took out his camera and for the first time in months clicked the shutter. Not to work, just to feel something again. A man walking a dog, a child chasing a balloon, a woman laughing into her phone. Snap, snap, snap. Each click was like breathing again. He was reviewing the shots when a voice behind him chirped, "You're in my seat." He turned, and there she was. Lily, arms crossed, pink sunglasses tilted dramatically on her nose. Clara stood just behind her, laughing apologetically. Sorry, she insisted we come again. I did not insist, Lily said, climbing into the booth. I suggested it firmly. Ethan grinned, moving his coffee aside. Well, how could I say no to that? Clara slid in beside her daughter. Truth is, we had a pretty hard morning. I didn't want to get out of bed. But Lily said, we need to go check on the man with the camera. He probably forgot how to smile again. Lily shrugged like it was no big deal. Ethan's throat tightened. Thank you for checking. They ordered breakfast, pancakes for Lily, tea for Clara, another coffee for Ethan. It didn't feel awkward. It felt easy. Do you ever take pictures of people? Clara asked, watching him snap a photo of Lily mid-syrup pour. I used to, all the time, but after my sister died, I stopped. I think it felt wrong to capture other people's happiness when I couldn't feel any of my own. Clara nodded slowly. Grief does that. It turns everything into echoes. You get that. I do, her voice dropped. Lily's dad, he left when she was 2. I raised her alone since then. Sometimes I feel like I've forgotten who I was before. Ethan looked at her. You don't seem lost. I cover it well. Lily piped up with a mouth full of syrup. Mommy cries in the shower sometimes, but I pretend I don't hear. Clara flushed. Lily. Ethan reached out instinctively and placed a hand over Clara's. It's okay. She's just honest. That's rare. Clara looked up at him, eyes glassy. Then, to lighten the mood, she smiled. So, Mr. Photographer, if you had to take just one photo today, what would you shoot? He looked at them both. You. Click. Lily threw her hands up. I wasn't ready. That's what makes it perfect. Ethan showed them the photo, a candid, blurry shot of Clara mid-laugh and Lily with her fork in the air, syrup dripping dramatically. It was messy, real, beautiful. You made Mommy smile, Lily said, a real one. Ethan's heart swelled. As they left the cafe that day, Ethan held the door again. It was starting to feel like routine. Outside, Lily tugged on Clara's sleeve. Can we come back tomorrow too? Clara hesitated, then smiled. If Mr. Ethan doesn't mind. Ethan chuckled. I'd mind if you didn't. Lily clapped her hands. Yay, then it's a plan. 3 friends forever, like in my storybook. They laughed. And as they walked off down the street, Clara's hand in Lily's, and Lily turning every few steps to wave at Ethan, he realized something. His smile didn't feel broken anymore. It felt borrowed, shared, and maybe, just maybe, worth keeping. It became their routine. Every morning at 9, the cafe booth by the window welcomed its little trio. Lily with her colored pencils and pancakes, Clara with her quiet smiles, and Ethan with his camera that had begun to breathe again. They laughed more, talked longer. Lily told stories that had dragons and cupcakes in the same sentence. Clara opened up about her dreams of becoming a teacher again someday. And Ethan, slowly, began showing them pieces of the world through his photos. But today, Clara arrived alone. Ethan stood quickly when he saw her. "She okay?" he asked, motioning to the empty space beside her. "She's fine," Clara said, sliding into the booth. Her eyes were tired. Just a bit under the weather, she insisted I still come. Ethan nodded, unsure what to say. Without Lily's big voice, the table felt too quiet. "I brought something," Clara said, reaching into her tote. She pulled out a small, beat-up Polaroid, yellowing at the edges, a little creased. A man with dark hair, laughing as he held a toddler, Lily. "That's her dad," she said softly. "The only picture we have." Ethan took it gently. The man looked young, joyful. "He looks like her." "He left a week after this," Clara said, her voice steady. "No note, no goodbye, just gone. For a long time I blamed myself. Then I blamed him. Now I just try not to blame anything." Ethan slid the photo back to her. "You're stronger than you know." Clara looked up. "You say that like you know me." "I'm getting there." They sat in silence for a while. Then Ethan asked, "Can I take a picture of you? Not for work, just for you." Clara hesitated, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I don't photograph well." "I disagree." She gave him a soft smile and nodded. He raised the camera, adjusted the focus, click. A quiet portrait, natural light, raw emotion. Her eyes looked like they carried storms and still chose to dance. He turned the camera to show her. Clara stared. "That doesn't look like me." "That is you," Ethan said. "Just the version you don't let yourself see." She smiled again. "Thank you." That afternoon, Ethan had the photo printed and slipped it into a small envelope. He dropped it in Clara's mailbox with a note. "This is how Lily sees you. Brave, beautiful, enough." The next morning, Lily was back, bursting through the cafe door in purple overalls and 2 mismatched socks. "Mr. Ethan," she shouted, "guess what? I feel better. Also, I drew you something." She slammed a crayon masterpiece on the table. A drawing of him with a giant camera, Clara with a crown, and Lily with wings. "I'm a fairy, Mommy's a queen. You're the camera prince." Ethan burst out laughing. "I'll take that title with honor." Clara just shook her head, smiling wide, cheeks flushed. He could tell she'd seen the photo. And maybe, just maybe, she believed in it a little. The cafe door jingled open late that Friday morning. Ethan was already seated, sipping his coffee, reviewing some photographs on his tablet. He looked up, expecting to see Lily racing in with another crayon masterpiece and a crown of daisy flowers. But it was only Clara. Alone again. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed. "Clara," Ethan stood immediately. She looked around before sliding into the booth, her movements unusually stiff. "I just needed a moment away." "Where's Lily?" "With the neighbor. I didn't want her to hear me crying. Ethan's heart dropped. What happened? Clara took a deep breath. Lily's father called. Ethan froze. He found us, she said, voice trembling. After all these years, said he wants to meet Lily, that he's changed, that he's ready to be a father. Ethan couldn't hide the tightening of his jaw. What do you think? He asked carefully. Clara shook her head. I don't know, my instinct says to run, but Lily, she doesn't even remember him. She just knows that daddies leave. Ethan reached across the table, gently covering her hand with his. You don't owe him anything, he said. Especially not after all this time, but you do owe Lily honesty and protection. I'm scared, Clara whispered. I've fought so hard for stability, and now it feels like it's slipping again. You're not alone, he said. Clara looked up. Why are you always so kind? Because someone once was kind to me when I needed it most, Ethan replied. I want to be that for someone else now. She blinked quickly, trying to hide the emotion in her eyes. I can't pretend to be her father forever, he added softly. But I can be here, as much as she needs, as much as you need. A tear slipped down Clara's cheek. She nodded. I'm not ready to let him in, she said, but I needed someone to tell me I wasn't wrong for feeling that. You're not wrong, Ethan said. You're protecting the only thing that matters. Later that evening, Ethan passed by Clara's apartment. He left a small box on her doorstep. Inside, a framed photo of the three of them from the cafe, taken with his instant camera. Underneath, he had scribbled, "Family isn't blood. Sometimes it's who shows up." The weekend brought a breeze of warmth and the promise of spring. Lily sat cross-legged on the picnic blanket in the park, giggling as her ice cream melted faster than she could lick it. Ethan was beside her, sunglasses on, pretending not to notice the giant glob of strawberry swirl on his shirt. Clara sat on his other side, quiet but smiling. Her eyes had more peace in them than the day before. Mr. Ethan, Lily piped up suddenly, do you like being with me and Mommy? Ethan glanced at Clara, who looked caught off guard. I do, he said, very much. Lily nodded solemnly. You smile better than Mommy's other friends. Some of them didn't smile at all. Clara stifled a laugh. Ethan leaned closer to Lily. You know why? Why? Because you and your Mommy are the best part of my week. Lily's eyes lit up like fairy lights. Even better than work. Even better than that, he said, tapping her nose. She turned back to her ice cream, satisfied. Clara leaned toward him and whispered, She's been talking about you nonstop. Ethan gave a shy shrug. She's special. She hasn't opened up to anyone like this before, Clara admitted. It's like, she trusts you already, and honestly, so do I. Ethan looked down at his lap, then up at Clara. You don't have to say that. No, I mean it. It's not just Lily. You've brought something back I didn't even know I was missing. He hesitated, then asked, What about her father? Clara's gaze lowered to her hands. He called again, said he'll be in town soon, wants to meet her. Ethan's stomach turned. Are you going to let him? I don't know, Clara whispered, but I'm not sure I can go through this alone. You're not alone, Ethan said immediately. Clara looked at him. Clara, he said carefully, if you want me there, not just for Lily but for you, I will be. Her lips trembled. Would you pretend to be her dad again if I asked? He didn't blink. I wouldn't have to pretend. There was silence between them, soft and full. Clara nodded slowly, blinking back tears. "Then maybe this isn't pretending anymore," she said. Clara opened the door to her apartment with a trembling hand. Ethan stood on the other side, holding a bouquet of daisies in one hand and a toy unicorn tucked under his arm. "For you," he said, handing Clara the flowers. "And for Lily." Clara smiled, but her eyes looked anxious. "He's coming, Lily's father, in an hour." Ethan stepped in, his entire frame tense. "Are you okay?" She shut the door behind him. "Not really." Lily came running in with wet hair and sparkly slippers. "Mr. Ethan." He knelt and handed her the unicorn. "For my brave little buddy." She squealed and hugged him tightly. Clara watched them, heart tight. "I told him you'd be here." Ethan looked at her, surprised. "You did?" "I told him you're important to Lily," she said softly. "And to me." Ethan stepped closer. "Do you want me to talk to him?" Clara hesitated, then nodded. "If he tries to claim rights just because he feels guilty, now backslash. I need someone strong beside me." Ethan exhaled. "You don't have to fight this alone." The doorbell rang. Clara froze. Lily looked up. "Is that the scary man?" "No, sweetheart," Clara said quickly. "He's just someone Mommy used to know." Ethan looked at her, then walked to the door and opened it. A tall man with sharp eyes and slicked-back hair stood there, dressed in a stiff blazer and holding a fake smile. "Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm Lily's father." Ethan didn't move. She already has someone who protects her. Jordan frowned. "And you are?" "I'm the man who's been showing up." Jordan's brows rose, and his eyes slid past Ethan toward Clara. "So this is the game now." Clara stood tall. "No game, Jordan, just reality. You walked away for 5 years. You don't get to barge back in and expect to take over." He glanced at Lily. "I just want to meet my daughter." "You had your chance," Clara replied. "If she chooses later to meet you, that's her right, but I won't let you hurt her or confuse her." Jordan stepped forward, voice hardening. "Are you going to keep her from me?" Ethan stepped in front of Clara and Lily. "Not if you walk away like a decent man." The silence that followed was thick. Jordan looked at them, Ethan with his calm strength, Clara with her quiet fire, and Lily holding her unicorn, peeking from behind Clara's legs. He stepped back. "Fine," he said, "but this isn't over." He turned and walked away. The door closed with a quiet click. Clara leaned against the wall, eyes watery. "I was so scared." Ethan held her gently. "You don't have to be anymore." Lily tugged at Ethan's hand. "Mommy's safe because of you." He picked her up, hugging her close. "You both are." And for the first time in a long time, the apartment felt like home. The evening settled into a rare kind of calm. The rain outside pattered gently against the windows, but inside the apartment, warmth glowed from the kitchen where Clara stirred a pot of soup. Lily giggled as Ethan helped her set the table, carefully placing mismatched forks beside the plates. "She says you're better at this than me," Clara teased from the stove. Ethan grinned. "She's just trying to get out of chores." Lily clapped her hands. "No, Mr. Ethan makes it fun." Dinner was simple: vegetable soup, garlic bread, and laughter. Lily told silly stories, and Clara watched as Ethan listened with rapt attention, like every word out of Lily's mouth was a treasure. After dinner, Clara cleaned while Ethan helped Lily change into her pajamas. When she returned to the living room, she found Lily curled up on the couch with her unicorn and Ethan beside her, reading from a picture book. "And the dragon said, 'I don't want gold, I just want a friend,'" Ethan read, making his voice deep and dramatic. Lily giggled and clapped. "Read it again." Clara smiled softly. "I don't think he's getting out of bedtime stories anytime soon." Ethan looked up at her with gentle eyes. "I don't mind." Later, when Lily was finally asleep, Ethan stepped out onto the balcony with Clara. The city lights shimmered below, and the soft breeze lifted Clara's hair. She stood beside him, quiet for a long moment. "You didn't have to stay this long," she said. "I know." She looked at him. "But you did." He nodded. "You needed someone today, and I wanted to be that person." A silence passed between them, full of things unsaid. Then Clara reached into her pocket and pulled out a Polaroid photo. It showed the three of them, Clara, Lily, and Ethan, sitting on the cafe patio earlier that week. Lily had insisted they take it with the cafe's old instant camera. Clara had almost thrown it away, unsure if it meant anything. But now it meant everything. "She calls it her family picture," Clara whispered. Ethan took the photo gently, staring at it. "It looks like one." Clara looked up at him. "Are you sure you're not overwhelmed? This isn't just a weekend thing anymore." "I know," he said softly, "and I'm not scared of it." Clara's voice trembled slightly. "It's been a long time since someone stayed." He turned to her, reaching out slowly. "Then let me be the first." She let herself lean into him, resting her head on his shoulder. And for the first time, she didn't feel like she had to hold up the sky on her own. The next morning began like any other, except something had shifted in the air. Clara felt it as she stirred sugar into her coffee, watching Ethan and Lily build a Lego castle in the living room. Their laughter was easy, natural, like they'd done it for years. But just as Clara was beginning to believe in the calm, a knock sounded at the door. She opened it to find a tall, stern man in a charcoal gray suit. Behind him stood a woman with sharp eyes and a clipboard. "Clara Winters?" the man asked. "We're from Family Services." Clara's stomach dropped. "What's this about?" "We received a report of an unapproved guardian in the home and possible overexposure of a minor to strangers." The woman added, her tone clipped. Clara's hands trembled. "That's not true. He's not just some stranger." But the man had already stepped inside. Lily peeked from behind the couch, her smile faltering. Ethan stood protectively. "Is there a problem?" The woman pulled out a file. "Mr. Ethan Cross, no familial relation, no legal rights, and yet you've been spending considerable time with the child." Clara's voice shook. "He's been helping us. We didn't do anything wrong." The agents looked at each other, unimpressed. "We'll have to initiate a formal investigation," the man said. "There may be consequences for unsupervised visitation." After they left, the apartment fell silent. Lily clung to Clara's leg, confused and afraid. "Are they going to take me away?" she whispered. "No, baby," Clara said quickly, kneeling to hug her. "Mommy won't let that happen." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "I should have known something like this might happen." Clara stood, shaking her head. "Don't say that. This isn't your fault." "I'm just some guy who walked into your life," he said. "They're right. Legally, I'm no one." "But you're not no one to us. she replied fiercely. You've become part of her world, of mine. He met her eyes, something deeper flickering in his. Then maybe it's time I stop being a stranger. Clara looked at him, startled. What do you mean? I have a connection, he said slowly. I can talk to someone who might help fast-track guardianship exceptions, if you're willing to let me officially be in her life. Clara stared at him. This wasn't about paperwork, it was about trust, permanence, love. Are you sure? She whispered. Ethan nodded. I never thought I'd want something like this. But Lily, you're not just a moment in my life. You're the life I didn't know I was waiting for. Clara exhaled shakily. Then let's fight together. Weeks passed. The investigation was nerve-wracking, full of interviews, paperwork, and waiting. But through it all, Ethan never wavered. He stood by Clara and Lily, showing up for every meeting, every question, every moment Lily needed him. And then, finally, the decision arrived in a quiet envelope slipped under Clara's door. She opened it with trembling fingers, scanning the legal text. Her breath caught. It's over, she whispered. They approved it. Ethan blinked. They did. You're officially cleared to be in Lily's life, she said, voice breaking into laughter. No restrictions. They even noted how your involvement improved her emotional well-being. Lily clapped and jumped into his arms. Yay, now no one can take you away. He hugged her tightly, eyes glistening. No, sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere. Later that afternoon, Clara took them both to the same cafe where it all began. It was quiet, the air warm, the scent of fresh pastries lingering like memory. They sat at the same table. Lily munched on her cookie, then looked up at Ethan. Do you remember the first time we met? He smiled. Of course, you asked to borrow my smile. She giggled. I wanted Mommy to be happy, and she is. Clara looked at him, her heart full. So am I. He reached for her hand gently. I was broken when I walked in here that day. Just a man with a coffee and no reason to smile. But now, she asked, her voice soft. Now, he said, I smile for both of you. Lily placed a paper napkin on the table. On it, she'd drawn 3 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one medium, and one with curly hair and a giant grin. Us, she said proudly, our family. Clara swallowed the lump in her throat. Family. Born not always of blood, but of love, courage, and the smallest request from a little girl with a big heart.